November 2023. Bankruptcy papers fluttered to the floor. A company worth $47 billion. Gone. WeWork, once valued at $47 billion in January 2019, collapsed to just $45 million before filing for bankruptcy, making it one of the most spectacular startup failures in modern history. That's a 99.9% drop. But how does a house of cards fall so fast? This is the story of WeWork, a company that promised to revolutionize work itself, a charismatic founder who believed his own hype, and the greatest corporate delusion of the startup era. A house of cards built on borrowed time, borrowed money, and borrowed reality, where every new floor made the foundation weaker. Every success brought them closer to collapse, because in the business world, gravity always wins. And when $47 billion worth of dreams comes crashing down, the sound echoes forever. It starts with a story every entrepreneur tells themselves. I'm going to change the world. In 2010, Adam Neumann, an Israeli entrepreneur, co-founded WeWork with Miguel McKelvey. But Adam wasn't just building a company, he was building a movement. Picture this: young professionals trapped in gray cubicles, corporate zombies shuffling through fluorescent-lit mazes. The old world of work was dead. Adam saw it differently. He didn't see office space, he saw community. He didn't see desks and chairs, he saw dreams taking flight. This wasn't just real estate, this was space as a service. This wasn't just co-working, this was a lifestyle revolution. Adam would stride onto stages, arms spread wide, declaring, "We're not in the real estate business. We're in the business of building community, of elevating human consciousness." The first card in his house was simple: rent large spaces, divide them up, and rent them out for more than you paid. But Adam wasn't building just any house of cards. He was building a cathedral of cards, each floor more ambitious than the last. The second card was culture: free beer on tap, neon signs that said, "Do what you love," yoga classes and meditation rooms. This wasn't an office, it was a lifestyle. The third card was vision. "We're going to have a WeWork on Mars," Adam would say. Not kidding, actually planning it. Born in Israel in 1979 and raised by a single mother, Adam had learned early that confidence could substitute for almost anything, that belief could bend reality, and that if you spoke with enough conviction, people would follow you anywhere, even to Mars. The foundation of his house of cards wasn't concrete, it was charisma. And charisma, as it turns out, is a terrible building material. By 2012, the cards were stacking nicely. A few locations in New York, happy members, positive press. But Adam was already sketching plans for the penthouse, the top floor that would touch the sky, the card that would complete his masterpiece. He just didn't realize that the higher you build a house of cards, the harder it falls. And gravity? Gravity was watching, waiting. 2014. The house of cards begins to soar. Not building floors anymore, building stories. WeWork wasn't just growing, it was exploding, like a rocket with no guidance system, like a house of cards in an earthquake, somehow staying up. Through the sheer force of Adam's personality, WeWork became a real estate juggernaut. The numbers were intoxicating. 2014, 14 locations. 2015, 50 locations. 2016, 100 locations. Each new card balanced perfectly on the last, each new floor defying gravity a little more. But here's what made WeWork different from every other house of cards. Adam made people believe it was actually a skyscraper. "We're not just renting desks," he'd preach. "We're building the future of humanity." Investors lined up like pilgrims. SoftBank, Goldman Sachs, Benchmark Capital. They weren't just investing in real estate. They were investing in the revolution. 2017. WeWork hits a $20 billion valuation. The cards are now stacked impossibly high, so high you can't see the bottom anymore. Adam's on every magazine cover, the prophet of profit, the guru of growth, the messiah of modern work. Each headline adds another card,
Each investment round builds another floor. The house of cards now stretches into the clouds. But here's the thing about building in the sky. The air gets thinner up there. Reality becomes optional. Adam starts buying companies, not related companies, random companies. A wave pool company, a private elementary school, a company that makes surfboards. Each acquisition is another card, another floor, another reason to believe this isn't just sustainable, it's inevitable. By January 2019, SoftBank valued WeWork at $47 billion. $47 billion for a company that rented office space. The House of Cards has become a monument to possibility, a testament to the power of pure, undiluted belief. Adam stands at the top, arms spread wide, king of his impossible kingdom, master of his gravity-defying empire. We're going to be worth $1 trillion, he declares. Not million, not billion, trillion. The cards are stacked so high now that Adam can't see the ground, can't remember what foundations look like, can't imagine that anything built so beautifully could ever fall. But down below, barely audible above the cheering crowds, a tiny sound. The first card, the foundation, beginning to creak.
2018. The House of Cards is magnificent, towering, impossible. But there's something wrong with the math. WeWork's financial statements land on investors' desks like a riddle wrapped in an enigma. In 2018, WeWork lost $1.6 billion on $1.8 billion in revenue. Wait, read that again? They spent more money than they made. Not a little more. All the money they made. Plus $1.6 billion more. This isn't a business model. This is performance art. Analysts squint at the numbers, run them through calculators, check their math twice. How does a company lose almost as much money as it makes and still be worth $47 billion? But Adam has an answer for everything. We're not a real estate company. We're a tech company. We're not losing money. We're investing in growth. We're not building offices. We're building the future. The cracks start small. Hairline fractures in the foundation cards. Former employees begin to whisper, "He's drinking his own Kool-Aid. The numbers don't add up. This can't last forever." But whispers are easy to ignore when you're standing on top of the world. The leases tell a different story. WeWork signs long-term leases, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, then rents the space out month to month. It's like buying a house with a 30-year mortgage, then renting it out on Airbnb. What happens when the guests stop coming? You still owe the mortgage. But Adam waves away the concerns. Occupancy rates are at 85%. Demand is through the roof. We're revolutionizing real estate. The House of Cards sways gently in the wind. Nothing dramatic, just movement where there should be stillness. Financial journalists start asking uncomfortable questions. How is this sustainable? Where's the path to profitability? What happens in a recession? Adam's answers become more creative. We don't compete with real estate companies, we compete with life itself. We're not in the space business, we're in the consciousness business. The cards at the bottom start to bend, not breaking, just flexing, under a weight they were never designed to carry. But the cards at the top, they're still being added. Bigger cards, heavier cards, more ambitious cards. Because when you're building a house of cards, the only way to keep it standing is to keep building, to keep believing, to keep pretending that gravity is just another problem to be disrupted. 2019. The House of Cards has grown so tall it touches the clouds, so complex that no one, not even Adam, can see how it all connects. But there's one card Adam hasn't played yet. The biggest card of all. The one that will either complete his masterpiece or send it all tumbling down. IPO. Going public would validate everything, prove that the House of Cards was actually a real building, a permanent structure, a monument to human achievement. The SEC filing hits Wall Street like a bomb. Investors open the document expecting to find a business. Instead, they find a fever dream. Revenue, $1.8 billion. Losses, $1.9 billion. And that's just the beginning. Buried in the fine print, Adam owns properties that he rents to WeWork.
His wife runs WeWork's spiritual division. The company pays for Adam's private jet, his personal security, his lifestyle guru. This isn't a business. This is a personal piggy bank with a corporate logo. The press response is volcanic. WeWork's IPO filing is a nightmare. The most ridiculous IPO of 2019. How is this company worth anything? Each headline is a gust of wind. The house of cards begins to sway, visibly, violently. Investors balked at WeWork's high debt levels, massive losses, and how quickly it was burning through cash. The IPO roadshow becomes a disaster tour. Adam stands on stages across the country, trying to explain the unexplainable. We're not just renting desks, we're elevating human consciousness. The audience stares back blankly. These are pension fund managers, insurance executives, people who understand mathematics. They don't want consciousness elevation. They want return on investment. The house of cards shudders. Cards start to slip. Not falling yet, just sliding. Behind closed doors, the board meetings become war zones. The IPO is off the table. Investors won't touch us. Adam, you need to step down. But Adam can't step down. He is the house of cards. Without him, there's nothing holding it together. Except Adam isn't holding it together anymore. His grip is slipping. His vision is blurring. His foundation is cracking. September 2019. WeWork's IPO attempt failed, leading to Adam's ouster and the company's valuation plummeting to $7 billion. From $47 billion to $7 billion in a matter of weeks. The house of cards doesn't collapse all at once. It collapses in slow motion. Card by card, floor by floor, dream by dream. WeWork laid off thousands of workers, each layoff another card removed from the structure. Each termination another crack in the foundation. Adam watches from his penthouse office. The man who built an empire of possibility. The man who convinced the world that gravity was optional. As his house of cards begins its inevitable fall, he realizes something terrifying. He was never building a business. He was building a beautiful lie. And now, the lie was telling itself.
The documents always tell the truth. When the spin stops, when the speeches end, when the house of cards finally collapses, the documents tell the truth. Email threads leak to the press. Internal financial reports surface. Former executives start talking. And the picture that emerges isn't just damaging, it's damning. WeWork wasn't just losing money, it was hemorrhaging money at rates that defied physics, like a house of cards built from burning $100 bills. The community-adjusted EBITDA metric? Made up. Completely fictional accounting, like measuring a house of cards by how much it feels like a building. The lease obligations? $13.3 billion in long-term lease obligations as of June 2023. Billion with a B, for spaces they couldn't fill, couldn't afford, could never hope to make profitable. But the real revelation isn't about money. It's about delusion. Internal emails show Adam truly believed his own mythology. We're going to be bigger than Apple and Google combined. Not eventually, soon. Board meeting transcripts reveal a man who had lost all connection to reality. We don't need to be profitable. We're changing human consciousness. You can't put a price on enlightenment. But investors could put a price on it. $0. Adam walked away with a buyout between $450 million and $750 million, while employees lost their jobs, while investors lost their money, while the house of cards he built lay in ruins around him. The forensic accounting paints a picture of systematic fantasy. Every metric inflated, every projection impossible, every promise built on quicksand. It wasn't just optimistic forecasting, it was pure, concentrated delusion. The house of cards wasn't just unstable, it was never real to begin with. WeWork had become what every startup fears becoming, a solution in search of a problem, a business model in search of a business, a house of cards in search of an actual house. The occupancy rates that look so impressive? subsidized by discounts so deep they lost money on every customer. The community that felt so vibrant, held together by free beer and venture capital. The technology that seemed so revolutionary, Excel spreadsheets with prettier fonts. As the truth spread through Silicon Valley, a collective realization dawned. They hadn't just funded a company. They'd funded a performance piece, a $47 billion work of conceptual art, titled, "What Happens When You Believe Your Own Hype?" The house of cards didn't just fall. It revealed that it had never been standing in the first place.
November 6, 2023. The final card falls. WeWork filed for bankruptcy. Not restructuring, not reorganization, bankruptcy. The word sits heavy in the corporate filing, like the last card fluttering to the floor. After a 13-year performance, the house finally admits it was never a house at all. There's no drama in the end. No speeches, no final stands, no last-minute miracles. Just lawyers filing papers in a New Jersey courthouse. WeWork stocks sink to record lows, just cents per share, now almost worthless. The company that once promised to put offices on Mars can't afford to keep the lights on in Manhattan. Employees arrive Monday morning to locked doors. No warning, no farewell emails, just silence where a revolution used to be. The last WeWork locations sit empty. The neon signs that once proclaimed, "Do what you love," dark. The beer taps that flowed with optimism, dry. The meditation rooms where consciousness was supposedly elevated, vacant. From $47 billion to $45 million. The math is brutal in its simplicity. $46,955 million gone. Not stolen, not lost to fraud, not destroyed by natural disaster. Simply evaporated, like a house of cards in a gentle breeze. Adam Neumann, the architect of this impossible dream, watches from afar, already onto his next venture, already building his next house of cards, already believing in his next impossible vision. In 2022, he launched Flow, a residential real estate company, receiving $350 million in funding. The king of cards shuffling a new deck. The WeWork offices become regular offices again, rented by regular companies for regular prices to regular people who just want a place to work. No consciousness elevation, no community revolution, no trips to Mars. Just desks and chairs, and the quiet hum of reality finally settling in where dreams used to live. The house of cards has fallen. All that remains is the space where it used to stand, and the echo of a question that will haunt Silicon Valley. How did we build something so beautiful that was never really there?
The collapse of WeWork didn't just end one story. It started 1,000 others. Every startup pitch deck now carries a ghost. But are we another WeWork? Every venture capitalist asks the uncomfortable question, how do we know this house of cards won't fall? The WeWork effect ripples through Silicon Valley like a shockwave. Investors who once threw money at disruption and consciousness elevation now demand boring things, like profit margins, like sustainable business models, like houses built on foundations instead of fairy tales. The employees who lost their jobs carry the scars. Trust in startup promises forever shaken. Faith in charismatic founders permanently damaged. The understanding that a house of cards, no matter how beautiful, is still just cards. But the deepest impact isn't financial. It's psychological. WeWork revealed something uncomfortable about the startup ecosystem. How easily brilliant people can be convinced that fantasy is strategy. How quickly metrics can become mythology. How a house of cards can feel so solid until the moment it isn't. The company's $13.3 billion in lease obligations didn't just disappear. They became someone else's problem. Landlords who believed in the dream. Contractors who built the fantasy. Suppliers who stocked the delusion. The real cost of WeWork isn't measured in billions. It's measured in trust. Trust in visionary leadership, trust in revolutionary business models, trust in the idea that you can build something from nothing if you just believe hard enough. That trust now comes with a warning label. May cause catastrophic collapse if not backed by reality. But here's the strangest echo of all. People miss it. They miss the beer taps. They miss the neon signs. They miss the sense that work could be something more than just work. WeWork may have been a house of cards, but for a moment, a brief shining moment, it made people believe that gravity was optional, that business could be beautiful, that work could be revolutionary. Even if the revolution was built on nothing but borrowed time and borrowed money, even if the beauty was just really expensive interior design, even if the house of cards was always destined to fall. For 13 years, WeWork convinced the world that impossible was just another problem to solve. And maybe that's worth something, even if it's not worth $47 billion. We opened with a question. How does a house of cards fall so fast? The answer, it turns out, isn't about speed. It's about time. WeWork didn't collapse in 2023. It collapsed the moment it was built on belief instead of bedrock, on charisma instead of cash flow, on dreams instead of data. The fall itself just took 13 years to complete. From $47 billion to $45 million, the mathematics of delusion finally meeting the physics of reality. Every house of cards tells the same story. It's not the last card that causes the collapse. It's the first card, the foundation, the moment you decide that gravity doesn't apply to you. Adam Neumann built something impossible, a company worth billions that had never made a profit, a revolution that was really just real estate, a house of cards so beautiful, so compelling, so inspiring that everyone forgot it was still just cards. But here's what the collapse of WeWork really teaches us. In a world drunk on disruption and dizzy with possibility, sometimes the most radical thing you can do is build something real, something boring, something that stands on actual foundations instead of pure imagination. The house of cards has fallen. The beer taps have run dry. The consciousness has returned to earth. But somewhere in Silicon Valley right now, another entrepreneur is shuffling the deck. Another visionary is building toward the sky. Another dreamer is saying, this time will be different. And maybe it will be. Maybe this time they'll build on bedrock instead of belief. Maybe this time they'll choose foundation over fantasy. Or maybe they'll build another beautiful, impossible, gravity-defying house of cards. Because that's what entrepreneurs do. They build houses of cards. They believe in the impossible. They convince the world that this time, gravity is optional. Until it isn't. This is the story of WeWork, the house of cards that touched the sky before teaching us all that beautiful lies still fall just as hard as ugly truths.